recognize Vice Chair Guest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel McCraw, first of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank Governor Abbott, the men and women under your control for the billions of dollars that the state of Texas has invested in fighting this crisis. And I see that that investment has been successful in some aspects. In your written testimony, I see that during the 2-year activity of Operation Lone Star, you report that there's been more than 350 million dosage units of fentanyl that have been seized, 19 tons of methamphetamine, and that you and the men and women of the Texas National Guard, the game wardens, DPS officials have helped apprehend and turn over to Border Patrol over 350,000 illegal immigrants. In your statement, there are some very compelling parts. In the second paragraph, particularly, where you say that the Texas Department of Public Safety, that is your assessment that the most significant public safety and homeland security threat to Texas and the nation is our unsecured international border with Texas. You go on to say the federal government has failed to do its constitutional duty and secure the border, that this failure comes at the detriment of our citizens and the benefit of the Mexican drug cartels. Colonel, would you agree with the statement that border security is national security?
Absolutely.
You go on to describe our Mexican border as porous. And then finally, at the end of page 1 of your written statement, you say that there's compelling evidence that the federal government has incentivized rather than criminalized illegal immigration. And then you set 4 specific figures as number of immigrants who have been apprehended just within the state of Texas, not within the border as a whole. 2021, you talk about 1.3 million immigrants being apprehended just within the state of Texas. 2022, we see that number grew to 1.4 million. And your testimony goes on to make sure that we know that that does not include the number of gotaways, which would significantly inflate those figures. We know that in May of this year, the administration has indicated that they will end Title 42, which this administration has said in December that we could see across the southern border a number up to 14,000 immigrants a day coming across the southern border. My question to you, Colonel, is, in your opinion, based on the information that you have, once Title 42 expires, what impact will that have on the number of immigrants that you're seeing coming into the state of Texas on a daily basis?
It'll certainly increase. How much, it's difficult to project. But there's no doubt that anything that incentivizes or encourages or something that the cartels can exploit from an information standpoint, they're going to encourage more to come. And the more that comes and the less Border Patrol is able to do their job and the more difficult it is for the state to be able to step in and help them do their job.
And what information have you received from DHS as to their plan of action as to how they plan to address this coming surge of immigrants when Title 42 expires?
Well, we work with our local Border Patrol sectors, so there's a state plan. Whether there's a federal plan or not, we can't tell you, but we certainly have a state plan that then brings together all law enforcement in Texas and the National Guard in an integrated way in terms of response as it continues to get worse. But right now, it's never been worse at 1.4 million. This is a historic high. You got to go back to 1986 to see these types of numbers in Texas, and we track it by calendar year.
Well, and I know just looking back December alone, again, across the entire southern border, over 250,000 immigrants seized in a single month. If Title 42 goes away, if the predictions that this administration has in place, those numbers will far exceed the worst month in the history of immigration. And so I guess my question is there currently a plan in place that you're aware of by DHS as to how they intend to handle the surge? Have they briefed your agency? Because clearly you're providing support capacity to our frontline CBP officers. And so here we are, roughly 2 months away, 60 days away from Title 42 going away. Is there a plan in place? Have they briefed you and your department on what you can do to prepare for the coming surge? And I'll yield back after the answer to that question.
Yeah, there is a plan in place because the state of Texas doesn't need the federal government's permission to protect it. The Governor Abbott's made it clear that we're going to have a plan in place. We have a plan in place. It's integrated across all 3 levels of government, and it's multi-jurisdictional, multidisciplinary, I can tell you that.
Thank you.